Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inspiring Hope. I'm your host, Lois Herman, here to shine the light on people who are making a difference in our world. And I get to meet and interact with some amazing people. And I was just introduced to Judy Julin. And this special lady has over 30 years experience in business as an entrepreneur and educationalist. I'm going to have her explain that to me. With children's life skill learning, children's life skill learning facilitator, special needs advisor, and much, much more. So, welcome, Judy. And if you don't mind, tell us about yourself.
That's a wonderful question. First of all, Lois, thank you so much for having me. I've heard about you and now I know you in person virtually through my friends Gina and Doug. So thank you for having me. I have been in the realm of educational reform for most of my adult working life. That also includes inspiring parents and empowering our youth, all the way from 2 years old through 17. So most of my I'd say back in the late 80s is really when I got my start. I had actual locations called Kids at Heart, which were fitness, nutrition, manners, and self-esteem for young kids and their parents. And this was way back in the late 80s, early 90s. So people were saying, well, what do you mean fitness and nutrition and manners? What they didn't, and I had a little machine that I jerry rigged an old vending machine, and I called it a scrumption machine. And I would put like Yibbly Bits and Delicious Snips. I made up names, and I would put in, healthy snacks in there, and the kids would put a quarter in when they come out. And it was just fun. And I always have fun. I do have a background in franchising. So when I do a location, which I did not only in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is my home state,
Okay.
city, but I also did it in Hollywood. So I like to scale and duplicate things. And that's really what I'm gearing up for in this next iteration. But I'm all about education, inspiring parents, and empowering our wonderful youth.
That's wonderful. I like that you've got a different take on education, that you're inspiring a different way of looking at things. And I also like the manners. That's the first I've heard that in a long time. Back in, high school days, I had attended charm school.
Oh, I love that.
And it had to do with being on a fashion board and learning how to sit in a mini skirt and those sorts of things, learning politeness, learning manners, learning how to set a good table, things that are not necessarily taught anymore. So that really piqued my interest. So you're teaching our children politeness, manners, right?
And I can understand why you're so charming today, because those things stuck with you. And back then, it was answering the phone, it was setting the table, it
Right.
was kind words. Even back then, I spoke about the power of our words, which segues beautifully into frequency-based education, because our words are frequencies. And I just didn't call it that back then, but yes.
Yes. And you're exactly right. Our words have a vibrational frequency to them. And the things we watch, the things we listen to, the things that ruminate in our head. So you are teaching children and parents about how the vibration of the word will affect their ultimate outcomes. So tell us about frequency-based education.
Well, when you spoke of words and the power of them, to bring a shine a light on that with Dr. Emoto's work, I'm sure you're familiar with Masaru Emoto.
Yeah.
And when I had my location in Hollywood, I was called Cosmic Kids, and it was launched at the Hollywood Highland Center in 2007, right above the American Idol finals. And kids, we had a pop-up for 6 months. Kids would come in and learn about the power of their thoughts. They would learn about imagination, creativity, emotional regulation in a fun play environment. So that really, I mean, I guess the beginnings, Lois, of frequency-based education began really back in the 80s for me.
Mhm.
Come full circle to today, when we are really moving and ascending into a quantum reality. It's always been there. Our awareness of it, my awareness of it, is now coming to the forefront. It's all really, you can have the best schools, the best curriculum, and teachers that are well-meaning. So many of them are well-meaning and want to help our youth. However, if on the very foundational level, the frequency, the vibration of the curriculum, the teachers, the environment are
Mhm.
not where it would be best suited, which would mean the highest frequency,
Ah,
which we learned in Power versus Force from Dr. David Hawkins with Gina and Doug. It diminishes the power of education and learning.
right.
So I'm also a feng shui consultant, so I understand about the importance. By the way, your beautiful surroundings are lovely and of the highest feng shui. So it's
You-
important to have everything. And so what we would do is train our facilitators at Cosmic Kids and at Kids at Heart back in the 80s about when they come in to be with the children. They had their home life, they perhaps had some traffic on the way, whatever's in their mind, as you say, that chatter that goes on, that all is felt by children. They're like sponges. So we want to keep focused and fresh and elevated in our frequency. The frequency-based education is three core components: frequency sensing, frequency matching, and frequency honoring. So those three components are: sensing is to slow down, take a breath, prepare yourself to be with the children, whether you're a parent, a nanny, a caregiver, a sibling.
Beautiful.
And it's kind of a good thing to do anyways for anyone. So frequency sensing and frequency matching is a very interesting one within the realm of frequency-based education, because you want to elevate. The children are often and most assuredly of a high frequency: wonder, joy, fun, innocence. I'm talking about our younger children, but of course our older children as well. So you want to match that frequency and then honor. Let's meet our children where they are. They might not be the best in math or science. How about if they love baking and we can teach them math and science and physics and everything within the realm of the kitchen? So frequency-based education is the bottom entry point for this new way of thinking about education.
Right. I just watched a little mini video on the concept that boys learn best if they're moving. Boys are not meant, and I don't think any of us are meant to be sedentary. But I saw this clip that talked about that boys will learn better if they're moving, if they're playing, if they've got some energy going in them. And that just really made sense to me. They've got that, you know, that strong drive energy. And if we don't foster that, if we squelch that, if we make them sit and be still, then their mind ends up getting busy and going over here. I had a son who was labeled as ADHD, and he had a hard time sitting still in classes. And ultimately, I had him in a Waldorf school that was much more attuned to movement and letting them get up and move around the classroom and do different things. That some of them would be knitting and doing things with their hands. And it was really helpful for him. So yeah, the concept of meeting the child where they're at energetically is a wonderful, wonderful concept.
So you have that energetic concept as a foundation for, let's call it, our new education system. And on top of that, you can build wonderful, wonderful curriculum. We're in the midst now of planning for a farm school and also a campus where people from all over the world can come and bring their educational innovations and present them to us so that we can help them, because my team and I love marketing, we love business, we love branding, we love scaling. So we can help people with the latest and the greatest education. It's kind of what I like to call high tech, high touch education model. High
Yes,
tech, the best of technology. We've
yes.
got all these wonderful technologies that have been suppressed for so long that will be coming out, and high touch, kindness, connection, frequency based sharing, learning, and loving. So I'm excited about the future, and I think education is certainly ready for an upgrade of sorts.
Or for a change. And I like the concept of this farm school because one of the things that I've come to realize is our education system over the past many years has really pushed higher education, aka college. And a lot of people are more attuned to working with their hands in the trades, and the trades are having a hard time getting people in them to be able to do woodworking, electricians, plumbing, these different things. These are wonderful fields to be in, and people should be encouraged to go into them. So farming, canning, sewing, doing things that are everyday things to live in this beautiful world we live in.
I love that, Lois. And interestingly enough, F-O-L-K, folk, it's hard to say, folk schooling is now coming back
Okay.
to be able to, for children and adults as well, all ages, to be able to get back to nature and self-sufficiency. So I think that it's a perfect time for that. And again, that's the mix of the best of technology and the best of high touch, which in my mind is kind of the folk aspect of getting back to basics. And the farm school itself will be wonderful because nature-based
Nature.
education.
So will the
Um,
farm still have animals as well
absolutely,
as
absolutely. You know,
raising crops?
yeah, David Sobel, you might know of him. He wrote Beyond Ecophobia in 1996, but in 2019, he wrote a list of articles that really talked about the connection between child development and nature-based curriculum and authentic teaching methods. That's another energy frequency-based concept we can get
Authenticity,
into,
yeah. Yeah.
authenticity. But he really called for a return to nature-based curriculum for 3 to 6 year olds. And that's kind of what we're incorporating in our farm school of sorts. We'll also have indoctrination-free, vaccine and mandate-free schools, and we'll be also have a family resource center so that we'll be able to help families that are having challenges, perhaps in the legal realm or wherever that they might need help with regards to sovereignty, body integrity, for making medical choices for their children. So that's going to be exciting too.
Wow. Well, another thing that comes to mind as far as the family school, we were just having a conversation about, some friends and I were having a conversation about this the other day, that oftentimes our nuclear families are somewhat divided. So here is a mom raising their children and grandparents are over there. So they don't really have that, the ability to connect. And in the indigenous tribes, it was oftentimes the grandparent that raised the children while the parents were off working in the fields or doing things. So, and I've seen some evidence of schools more in Europe where they bring in the elderly as part of the not necessarily as core teachers, but as support, so that they've got these older people who are there to give wisdom to the young ones, and the young ones will listen to these stories, so it's a wonderful way of bringing in all ages together. Is that part of your curriculum at all?
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Absolutely. So think of
Yes.
it as like a one-room schoolhouse
Okay.
because I'm all about age mixing because the children they learn from their older friends and the
Yes.
older ones like to mentor the younger friends. So that's a big part of it. And also elder care. So elder care will be a huge part of what we do, whether they come in for the day and they are paired with children, they read stories to the children, they'll be gardening with the kids. So it's really all ages. And also we'll have for parents, we used to publish a magazine called Inspired Parenting. So we have parenting classes, and that's another great component of it. So it's really all ages, all together, all abilities, all learning all the time. So we
Yeah.
want to take the concept of education out of the four walls of the classroom and into life skill learning for all of us together.
Beautiful. Now, where are you? Is this, are you proposing this for the public school system, or this is private or charter schools? Where are you actually implementing this education system?
For many, many years, I did my darn tootin' best to incorporate these concepts into the schools. I'm in Los Angeles, so we had many meetings with LAUSD and charter schools. It was a jump for them to consider that.
Mhm.
So what I've always done, Lois, is kind of go outside of that and do it on my own as a business, whether it's nonprofit or for profit. I've
Okay.
had both. That we can bring these concepts on our own. So we're now looking at some land and to build a campus and a farm school. And we will start with what I'm considering as a PMA, which is a private membership association. And that gives you a lot of sovereignty. It gives you a lot of freedom to have regulations and a platform to say and do what you want to do. So we're looking at a PMA. We're looking at Los Angeles, California, and also Malibu for the farm school. So we'll have a couple of locations. This we're looking to launch in end of 2025, 2026.
Wow, that's exciting. That's
Mhm.
exciting. And this will be covering all grades.
All grades. All grades, because we'll also have, I believe parenting begins before conception,
Oh,
so that the mindset of the parents and their frequency really impacts that child
do you
through
have
their whole life.
prenatal classes and stuff? Because children, I often say children do not come with a recipe book or a guidebook. You know,
Yes.
it's learn as you go, and oftentimes it's a school of hard knocks. It's hard to know what to do as a parent. So you'd have parent organizations or classes so that parents could um, have support groups or people to talk with and to share with.
Yeah, and we'll have seminars, workshops. This campus of sorts will be kind of a hub for all things life skill related. So we call it education. I happen to call it frequency-based education, but it's really about a guidebook that's co-created, not just what we are bringing for our many years of coming together and our wonderful providers and professionals, but we also co-create with the parents, with the community members and the business leaders so that we can start to engender a workforce for them that is really what they want. What kind of employees do you want? And then we add that also into our curriculum. So the education, the learning process then becomes a collaborative community effort with the schools and the parents and the businesses. And again, I think co-creation is such an important word because we want to glean the magnificence of these masters in our midst that we like to refer to as our children.
That is really excellent because things also change. Everything has to be dynamic, and as the children have new ideas, being able to be part of the creative process is critical to the sustainability and evolution of the program, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you spoke earlier about the children, and um, we even now have an advisory board that's made up of about 5 to 10 kids, including teens, but young ones too. Every time we've had a planning summit, and I've had probably 3 or 4 big ones over the course of years, up to 15, 20 people from all different walks of life: architects, biobiologists, permaculture, technicians, engineers, and we have a body of children
Mm.
between, I think our youngest was 6, 7 at the time, and our oldest was in high school. And they actually got up after they listened to what we had to say and gave their own presentation. So, I mean, it becomes a co-creative, collaborative
Or-
movement of education.
And the children are learning by applied and taking applied membership and active roles in organizations instead of just all of a sudden being thrown into an organization as an employee. They're a part of the organization as they're growing, which gives them skills to interact with and learn and be a part of an organization, which is fabulous.
Yeah, so we really are helping our commerce and our businesses um, nurture and empower their next workforce. So
Mm,
they might even begin to bring on young people in apprenticeship programs that are
sure.
even younger than what you typically would do. But when you're mentoring them along the way, you can bring them into your workforce. And of course, uh, I've spoken about it before that these children today, and it's been since probably decades ago, they're coming in wired differently. So they might not, such as your son, I mean, they might not fit into our sitting in the seats,
Mhm.
learning the old industrialist age of education.
Right.
they might learn by playing basketball and moving around, but the kids are really, they're going to be a central component of what we do moving forward, because they're sensitive and they're brilliant, and they don't need to be drugged or admonished, unless it's absolutely necessary. And I can't imagine what that would be, but we'll learn. Perhaps they're an indication of the next evolution of our species, that they don't learn the same ways. I learned this when I was as an educationalist at the Hunter School for a year up in Rumney, New Hampshire, near you.
Okay.
And these kids had extreme behavioral challenges, and I was there hired to come in and help with curriculum, help with fundraising, and it was wonderful. It was during their worst winter, but I enjoyed it nonetheless as a California girl. But what I found was these kids could be on had very little time to be on technology, but when they did, they were able to understand exactly what was going on, all corners of the room. They had an ability, not all of them, but I watched and was a witness to many of them, that they could have because people say pay attention. Their attention is different. It's almost spherical, that they can know everything that's going on around them, but still be focused. So my thought is let's learn these new personal technologies or human capabilities that these kids are coming in with, and embrace them and nurture them.
Yes. I agree. It was interesting. The Waldorf school that my son went to had an amphitheater above that you could look down into the classroom. And it was amazing to me how the teacher could teach being with so much distraction. The kids were up walking around, they were milling, they were talking, and the teacher would just keep delivering the information, keep delivering the information as if they were all at attention. And in speaking with them there, they said exactly what you said. These children have the ability, if they keep their hands going, be it doodling, be it whatever, then they are actually more able to listen strong, with more clarity to what's going on. If they're made to sit there and do nothing, it's an effort to listen. So it was very interesting to see all of this dynamic going on, and yet the children really absorb the information.
There's so many things that I love about Waldorf, and I've done some programs with the Waldorf, at West Side Waldorf in Los Angeles. And I love for a number of years, I traveled, Lois, around the world researching different pedagogies,
Wow.
Waldorf, Tewa Riki from New Zealand, Montessori, and I traveled to India because they were doing some interesting things over there. I was there for over a month, learning in Mumbai. Learning, they were teaching the children to read with their eyes blindfolded.
What?
Yeah, so they would read with their eyes blindfolded, and they would learn to move coconuts with their mind. Now, I witnessed this, I watched it, and it's amazing. You can Google it. It's quite interesting. And I believe that capability, I mean, we just haven't focused on those things in our
Mhm.
minds, but we do have extra sensory abilities that we've not nurtured in the traditional sense
Mm.
in education. And now, certainly with what we're moving forward, by the way, the educational center is called WOW, which stands for World of Wonder
Oh,
Learning Lab. And that will be our PMA. And wow is a great exclamation of awe and wonderment that kids are in most of their time in their life. So that's the place that we want to get back to. And again, it's also about what kind of environment we'll have. So there's great architects and biobiologists that we've worked with. Biobiology is the study of healthy buildings, which originated in Germany. So
okay.
we have had, and we will continue to have a biobiologist on staff to make sure not only is our building the healthiest, but it's also energetically sensitive to these beings of all ages that
Right.
need to be nurtured while they're learning.
Yeah. So the biobiologist is going to be looking at EMF exposure or other types of toxic
Everything,
exposure and
everything.
everything.
Paint, EMF, everything, from the
Asbestos.
carpet, the paint, it's wonderful. And the ley lines, so it's really great. And I learned about it when I was doing my feng shui studies at the Metropolitan Institute of Interior Design in New York back in, I'd say, the 1990s. And it just so happens I had a teacher there in person, and it turns out that I re-met her when we were doing our studies for another WOW center 3 years ago, and she's here. And I said, well, I don't know that she remembered me. Maybe she was just being nice. I said, Mary, I loved you then. I just learned so much from you about, in fact, I was in feng shui school and she was the biobiologist. She's now, I see her at the co-op when I'm buying my foods now. And it's really great to have come full circle with her.
Ah, that's great. That is awesome. I know I have studied feng shui to a degree as well, and I do use it. I love it. And I think everybody needs to be taught that those are just fundamentals of, again, energetic balance. It's all about balancing the elements in your space.
Yeah, everything matters. Everything matters.
Mhm.
And when I go back into quantum-based education, frequency-based education, it's really going back and back the layers, not just what you're seeing, not just what you're thinking, but what you're feeling, and the frequency, and even the intentionality. A lot of the classes that we have both for children and parents and adults is on intentionality
Mm,
and manifesting. So
perfect.
we're so powerful, and we are creating with our words. So it's important to understand that let's create what we want. And not to say that we don't critically analyze, ask questions, do our
Absolutely.
research. What we do is we are very careful about what comes out of our mouth, because we are creating as we speak.
And in this day and age, there's a lot of pain, fear, drama that's going on in our world today. And a lot of it is, I've written books that are about the pending apocalypse, which basically is the lifting of the veil. This stuff has been going on for a long, long time, eons. And what's happening is we're seeing it. And what I have discovered is when you start delving into this and you learn about all of the terrible stuff that is truly going on in our world, it's once you have that awareness, I don't need to sit in it and steep in it. I don't need to see it over and over and over, because then that just takes my energy down. I will skim the headlines. Mostly I'm looking for, okay, what is being done to change this? What is being done? I already have the knowing of some of so much of the atrocities. So many people rehash it over and over and over, and what they're doing is they're recreating it in their mind, and they're constantly calling attention to it, which then lowers everybody's vibrational frequency, in my opinion. I would rather be aware of it, look for deltas, what's being done, what is changing, what are the good things, because that's one of the things that one of the guides told me when I was interviewing the spirits, is that there are more good people than bad, but the voice of the negative are louder and stronger. You must make the voices of the good people heard. And what I'm realizing is a lot of good people have turned sour because they're so focused on the negative that's around them. And what we have to do is be aware of it, rise above it, see it from that higher perspective, and look at it from a perspective of what can be done, instead of, oh my God, this is horrible. It's like, okay, this has been going on for a long time. What changes can be facilitated to improve the situation? So, speaking to what you're talking about with what we think, what we speak, we are master creators. And if we stay stewed in all this negativity, we are just recreating the negativity.
There's so much golden nuggets within what you just said. I and it's so relevant. It's so timely right now. I just saw a movie that came out after The Sound of Freedom, which was about trafficking. I
Yes.
can't remember the name of it. It just came out.
Mhm.
And it was really, really hard for me to watch. I'm
Mhm.
aware of what I probably don't know everything that goes on, but I'm aware of what goes on. And I realized that for me, because I am aware, I wanted to see it because I wanted to see if it was going to help the general public awaken to what's been going on. And it was really, I realized, Lois, that that was not something that I needed to see, because I'm already there, and it kind of got me back into that frequency. Now, I have spoken to some friends trying to let them know things that are going on in the world, in my opinion. And they say, "Oh, Judy, let's just be positive. Let's just speak about the truth." And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. The honest of what's really going on. You've got to be careful. You can't focus on the negative. It's important to know about the negative. They won't even look at the negative. They don't even realize the negative exists because they've been conditioned in the optimistic, positive realm that we live in, that we've got to stay positive. Yes. However, we need to understand, as you said, that what's going on and how did we get here? How can we make a difference? And how can I add to the solution? Which is exactly what you're saying.
Absolutely. And there were many years that I had the ostrich in the head in the sand. I was a single working mom in a medical world and studying spirituality. I didn't have time for all of the political nonsense. I was like, well, other people are taking care of that. So I had no awareness until 2020 rocked my world. And I started really looking at it and going, holy cow, well, I will never be in that blinded, unaware state again. I'm constantly looking to learn more. I avoid fixating on the negative, though, and because I also know enough as empaths that if we fixate on that, that just brings our energy down, and that I am not contributing what I can. So there's a way of learning to be in the world but not of it, right? You've heard that. I am here. I am on a mission, as you are, as many people are. We are here on purpose, on a mission. We have to know what the landscape is in order to avoid the landmines. But we can't just sit there and watch for the landmines everywhere. We've got to be aware. And yet, my role is through prayer, through the energy work that I do. Frequency-based stuff is near and dear to my heart. So teaching the light workers, the light warriors, the star seeds, how to keep their vibe high, because we need the high vibe in order to save this planet. We need everybody that has that, they're on a mission. Those are the people, in my opinion, that are going to save and rescue this planet, because we've got to shift it from the negative to the positive. But we can't do that with blindfolds on. I mean, some people maybe, but we've got to be aware of what's going on, fully aware, and then make informed decisions.
Yes, and the work that you do and that I'm learning more about, and I can't wait to learn more and collaborate together for curriculum and training for teachers moving ahead, and parents and children. Yeah, I have a question for you, Lois. There's a fine line that you walk about being of the world, but not too much in it,
Yes.
and ensconced in it. How do we, in our current environment, with our beloved friends and family members that are not aware of what's been going on for so long, um, how do you go into that with an open, loving mind, and to be able to, in my mind, in these next years, I plan to be there for my family and friends that are realizing what's been going on, and to help them through that, because I too in 2020 became aware, and it was harsh, but I've done it over 4 years.
Right.
So I think people are going to learn about it in a very quick way. So what are your thoughts as to how to best hold space and be there for your loved ones during this next period of time?
Just exactly as you say. One of the things that I do is I am outside in nature, grounding in my bare feet, wearing more natural fabrics as much as possible to really connect with the spirit, the energy of nature, because we're here as human beings, but we've modified our connection with spirit and with divine and with earth by way of the clothing we wear and the food we eat, all of that. So getting back into being really one with who my body is intended to be. And so I'm working on self a lot. And then instead of arguing with or enforcing my opinion on others that are obviously they're just not ready to hear it yet, I do what I call just little seed plantings. I might little sprinkle a little enough to where they know that if they have a question, they can come to me and I'm happy to answer. But it's kind of like when your children want to know, where do babies come from? You don't want to give them the whole detail. You want to just say, well, they come from mommy's belly. You want to just give them only what they need at that moment in time. Otherwise, so much of this stuff, if they're not ready, is going to shock them. And it really is going to hurt their energy. So I really believe that until the media that they are getting their information from, until that changes, until there's nothing that we can do to change their mind. As a hypnotist, I recognize the hypnotic programming that is going on. And until someone is ready to be reprogrammed, there's nothing you can do. And anything that you attempt to do will only be met with angst and anger and conflict. And like you, I want to embrace my family. I want to love my family through this and watch as they evolve themselves in their own way. And they are. I'm seeing changes and glimmers where 3 years ago there was absolutely nothing, mask wearing, mandates, all that kind of stuff. I'm definitely seeing changes happen with family and friends. Have I lost some friends? Yes, but that's okay because some of those friends were draining of my energy. And I've had to learn to protect my energy, oxygen mask on self, take care of my energy. And those people who were draining or destructive of my energy, I have decided that it's like a toxic relationship. I teach people to quit smoking by getting rid of the pack. The pack is like divorcing the pack. The pack is an unhealthy relationship. You don't want it in your life anymore. It's the same thing with some of these people who are so toxic. Don't have them in your life. Remove them from your life for a period. Maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't. But we have to keep our energy buoyed up and afloat because you talked about power versus force. There is exponential influence the more we can keep our energy up and positive, our vibrational frequency high, the more influence we have. We have a broader influence. If we just jump into the fray and get way down into that fear, guilt, anger, shame, we're not helping anyone. So we have to do our best to keep ourselves strong and uplifted, and we will affect the change possibly subconsciously and on a different level. Again, we're working on mind, body, emotion, and spirit. There's 4 parts of us that all need to be protected, healed, and empowered. And so we have to work on all of that for ourselves. And then as people see, oh, wow, what are you doing to maintain your energy? Then you can share to where they're ready. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And that was so beautifully said. Thank you. When you talk about what we're in right now, this makes me think of another crucial part of frequency-based education, and that is the Socratic Method. That it's Jordan Peterson, who's a podcaster. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he had on Jeff Sandifer not long ago, who started the Acton School of Business in Northern California. And it was so successful. They had the MBAs that were rated amongst the highest in the reviews, that he decided to form a school called the Acton Academy based on these principles, which were the one-room schoolhouse, the Socratic Method, and the latest technologies, which is kind of like high tech, high touch.
Mhm.
But the Socratic Method, asking questions, it's great for people that are now waking up, rather than to be putting on the, as you said, to let them know so much. You wouldn't want to let a baby know more than or a child than they're ready to hear. If we start asking questions, is that working for you? How does that feel? And that, I think, is not only a way to help our loved ones move through this next phase of disclosure, but it's also great to incorporate into our education system, which we plan to do, the Socratic Method. And thank you to Jeff Sandifer of the Acton Academy for talking about that, because their belief is every child has the right to, they're all genius, and they have the right to find their special gifts and nurture them early so that they can go on and make the world the best place that it can be. So I love that philosophy.
And as you said earlier, that our children are coming in with a knowing. So many of these children, as they come in through the veil, there is our mind, our memory is erased to a degree. But some of these younger children, they are coming in with a remembrance of my mother was, and I had this, and so they have a memory of prior lives or prior existences or whatever. And what we have to do is learn from them. They've come in with knowledge and wisdom, and as we foster that and encourage them to share, oh my goodness, how much more we will learn from our beautiful, unadulterated, untouched youth. Let them glow and share with us.
What you speak of, Lois, is really, as I think about taking the school out of the four walls of the classroom, and you're inviting it to be, we're learning, they're learning, everyone's learning, and it's life skills. It's not, of course, reading and writing and arithmetic. Let's find out the special gifts and the special inclinations of our youth. Let's match them with that at an earlier age and nurture that so that they can go on to, in their own way of learning, because I believe, and I'm sure you honor it too, that everybody has a special mission in life.
Absolutely, they do. And that's what I'm just, my team and I find this with the people who are feeling stuck or disempowered or disenfranchised because they know they're here for a reason, but they don't quite know what it is. And it's one of the most blessed things that we do is to help them discover their mission, help them move in that direction. And it's wonderful because we need their gifts. We need, our humanity needs what they are here to do. And if everybody were to do what they're called in their heart to do, what they truly enjoy doing, it's not like work. It is part of adding to the community of society.
That's so great that it's not like work.
Right. It
That
shouldn't.
that that shifts the whole way of our career path.
Mhm.
And obviously you are aligned with what you were meant to do in the world. I've never had children myself.
Yeah.
I've never studied education. Well, in the traditional sense, I never even babysat. My sister said, "Why do you continue to do this?" And it's the very blood that courses through my veins.
Mm.
I know that this is my mission. And because I don't have children of my own, although when I was married, I had 7 children my former husband had, and many, many grandchildren, and they used to call me Grand Judy. So because I haven't born any myself, I have a unique capacity to give to all and
Wow.
to be able to devote my life. This is my life's work, which I'm very, very proud to continue. So
That is wonderful. And so when do you feel, do you have programs that are active now that people that are interested can reach out to you and enroll their children? Do you have, is this something that you're in the process of creating?
the last that we put on was an event that was a 5-month long Teens, Tools, and Hope video series. I had lots of speakers on, and then we had a teen panel. So we're now gearing up for our campus and our farm school. So currently we don't have anything, but stay tuned for whilelearninglab.com and all that we have to offer in the future.
That's wonderful. Well, we'll definitely have you back on and with a status update and see how we can be of service to you in what you're doing and helping the children, helping
Well,
the.
Lois, from the moment I met you, and I know we've touched on this, I would love to work with you, and the brilliance that you're offering now to make that into a curriculum for not just teens, but even younger kids, because these tools and techniques that you offer that are, proven over time, and of course that you are so intuitive and are receiving this information, and you've of course have an experience and a rich background, that to me is the best type of curriculum to offer to kids.
It's basically awakening what we've already, it's rediscovering and awakening what we already know, but we've
Great.
kind of pushed it down. and allowing ourselves to step into that energy, because that energy is that power that's reawakening the true 12 strand DNA that has been repressed and suppressed for many different reasons over many years. So reawakening the what we're calling the angelic humans.
Oh, I love that.
Mhm.
And this is a perfect example of this. I feel uplifted. I feel hopeful. Being in your frequency, being in your energy, talking with another like-minded individual is wonderful. Not to say that we have to be around only like-minded individuals. We make our own choices as to where we want our frequency to abide best. And I'm just so happy to have met you, and I look forward to more wonderful opportunities to be together.
And we have to be able to connect with others of similar mindset and similar frequency vibe in order to sustain. Because yes, we can be around the others that are still wondering and questioning. Well, we're all questioning, but um, it's just nice to have someone that we can share heart to heart without fear of being accused of being a little on the, now I'm like, I've just embraced my differentness. I like being, I'm not going to use the word weird. I like being unusual. Who wants
Yeah,
to be usual? Right.
beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's I think a big challenge as I look back in my life is that I didn't fit the mold.
No,
Never did.
never
And
did.
I feel like now I have an opportunity to really shine and maybe be more of myself, perhaps, because I thought I couldn't understand why what I was doing, even though we realized success, why it wasn't more widely understood or embraced or celebrated. And now I know why, because it gives us our true nature and our true empowerment. And the powers that be at the time didn't want that. So now we can step into our true nature of empowered sovereign souls. And that's going to be awesome.
It sure is. It sure was. The timing was not quite right yet. And but now people are truly embracing it, which is exciting. We're all here at a very exciting and pivotal time. We've got to keep the hope alive, right?
Yes, your services, your techniques, what you do, I mean, I'm sure that you've enjoyed it for as long as you have. However, moving ahead, and I know you know this, is going to be so important. What
Really.
you do and what you can teach people to, not just for themselves, but their loved ones and their family, the tools and the techniques that are. I thank you so much for what you're doing, Lois, and it's just really an honor and a pleasure to know you.
I know that I've been over the past couple of years that my guides keep saying, you must teach, you must teach. So that's where my focus has been. And I have a beautiful team of people who've been with me for a period of time that are really excited about joining me in this teaching effort, which is we've seen the magic and the miracles, and we've got to embrace that and bring it back, bring the magic back. I'll tell a little mini story. We actually did an energy investigation and encountered the energy of the last unicorn. You'll appreciate this. And this last unicorn, this is a spirit based unicorn. And the unicorn said, there used to be magic and miracles, and everything was just glistened. Nature had so much beautiful glistening, and a dark shadow came over the land and destroyed the fairies and the elementals and pushed them all underground. And this last unicorn said, you must bring back the magic. You must rekindle the magic in the children. They still have it there. You've got to bring the magic back to the land. And I said, we'll do it.
Sign me up.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you for doing what you do, Lois. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for what you're doing. I'm excited to see this all unfold and to be a part of it. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Judy. And thanks to our beloved Gina for introducing us.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Until next time, everyone, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day. God bless. I'm just going to stop recording.